Hello there and welcome back to our video series. In this particular video, we're going to be answering the question, what are the real benefits of youth sports? We've touched on some of these in other videos, and today we'll delve into that a little more deeply in this video. Now, to answer this question well, we're going to have conversations about things like leadership and then mental and physical health well-being and the habits, the long-term health habits, the communication skills, the academic benefits, all of those things and more, what we'll be delving into in this video. Youth sports builds confidence. For most kids in most situations, being involved in youth sports and getting out there and having fun and exercising and playing a game builds their confidence, because the longer you do it, you begin to build some success loops in there, right? As you get out there and you have a little bit of success, that feeds on itself. And then the camaraderie that comes along with that, that reinforces that success loop, that socialization as you work towards common goals and you find some of those little victories. And when coaches are coaching you well and you focus on those little victories, so even I think in one of these other videos, I gave my example of when I was 10 years old in Little League and my team had 1 win and 20 losses. But even within that, and nobody likes losing, good coaches, they're building some of that, those little victories in there. And when that happens, your confidence begins to improve. And when the coaches are building you up and, you know, choosing those moments when things went well and you did something well, that builds you up. And it feeds on itself when you are with other people as well, right? So it just kind of escalates that whole process of developing confidence when you're involved in sports. The other thing besides the confidence that comes from being involved in youth sports, there's data that shows it improves your mood regulation, decreases the likelihood of depression, and it helps you feel better emotionally. And then with the exercise you are getting, that helps your body as well. And there's this link, right? We all know about the mind-body connection. And when you're beginning to get that confidence and you're feeling better and you're exercising, more chemicals are produced that produce good feelings in your body. So it becomes a success cycle emotionally, psychologically, and physically. That activity, that camaraderie, that working for that common goal, getting those life lessons, it not only is building that confidence, but is building a healthy mindset, something that should be something we feed on, so it then goes outside of sports and begins to impact the other areas of life as well. There's a study done by the University of San Diego that showed that students who were involved in sports were more likely to go on to college and did better academically. And it really shouldn't be that surprising because of the confidence that you're building, the emotional well-being that you're improving. And I've talked about in so many other videos that when you are handling stress better, which more exercise, competition, physical activity all help you deal with stress better, when you do that consistently, you're getting out of the emotion of stress and everything else improves. Now, I do have to say, we have touched on this in other videos, that sometimes athletics increase stress levels. When things aren't done well and we aren't building and focusing on the little victories regularly, or you have a coach that may not really be building you up the way the person could or should, stress can be added. So that is true. We're talking about generalizations here, though. The generalization is getting involved in sports is something we should encourage, because some of the residual impacts of that are improved academics and improved leadership. When you begin to walk with more confidence, which oftentimes sports does, leadership happens. People begin to drawn to you, and you develop leadership skills within the act of working together as a team for a common goal. All those things are tremendously positive benefits of getting kids involved in sports and keeping them involved as long as possible. I mean, there are some great sports, things like track and field, that are so individualistic that you are really getting competition as a team, but you're competing against yourself. Ultimately, you're trying to run faster, do the shot put further, throw the javelin further, jump higher, whatever it is that you're involved in. So there are sports like that that are individual by nature, but still teach you the same lessons. One of the things that happens too is the longer you're involved in sports, the more you want to stay in sports. So I was a soccer player, skier, and baseball. That's what I did, the three sports I did all through high school. Played baseball my freshman year, and then I stopped because I had to focus on my grades, and I wasn't that good anyways. But the desire and the habits and the lifestyle issues kind of became a habit. And through the rest of that college, I did some intramurals, so I kept that competitiveness. And then after high school, I found other ways. I kept skiing. I played in a men's baseball league for 15 years. Before I got in that, I was playing softball. I was playing volleyball and wallyball, and I was finding things that I wanted to do to keep competitive and keep active because that was I need to fill that void. It was part of my identity, who I was. I liked the competition. It was part of the habits that I built into my lifestyle. A friend of mine who is a serial entrepreneur, and I've talked about him in some other videos in that context, but he was a soccer player. He and I played high school soccer together. We were fraternity brothers. Uh, his lifestyle, though, he also became an extreme distance athlete. So I still remember taking my kids up to Vermont with my wife when the kids were really young, and I was going to run part of a 100-mile race he was doing in Vermont. I was going to run part of that with him. He did a 150-mile run through the Sahara Desert in Africa. He's climbed the highest peaks on every continent, right? Now you don't need to be like that extreme, but the point there was that competitiveness from soccer began to get replaced with other things, and he kept finding reasons and ways to push himself. And that sort of lifestyle long term has tremendous benefits for all of us. So we've talked about this in some of the other videos, but the character development is really crucial. There's something about competition that can really be used well to shape character. And it's this idea of persisting, right? Of not giving up in the face of setbacks, learning to deal with failure positively, being put in those situations, which sports do, where you're going to fail, right? And then you have to deal with it well. Doesn't mean you like not fulfilling a goal that you have, which is ultimately what losing's about, right? You've set goals and you don't want to be the one to, not reach the goal or to prevent your team from reaching that goal. But the lessons that you can learn from failure can be as strong as those lessons that you learn from success and that character development. And it manifests itself in all kinds of different ways too with leadership, learning to build people up. Got to tell you a story about when I was young, and I don't remember this incident at all, but I think I was just out of college, and some friends of the family, they had moved to our town when their son was like 9 years old. And there was some sort of reunion. They had moved away, come back, and I was there with the parents of this boy. He wasn't there, but the mom told me that she said, "I don't think you realize what an impact you had on our son." I'm like, "What?" She said, "You probably don't remember it, but when he was 9 years old, he joined my little league team, and I was 12. I was one of the leaders on the team, and he was getting teased a lot. They had moved from like St. Louis, Missouri area. He had a little Midwestern accent, and kids can be mean, right? Or they can try to be teased in a friendly way and not know how to do that. So at one point, apparently, I said to the rest of the guys, knock it off and just give the kid a chance, will you? And they did. And according to the mom, that changed his whole experience from Little League. He went on, by the time he was 12, to be one of the best players in the Little League, in that Little League, made the All-Star team, and that All-Star team did pretty well. So that, whatever lessons I had learned, that turned to that leadership doing that, but also those lessons that he learned impacted him. And from what his mom had said, that those were lessons that he carried with him and helped him to become the young man he was at that time. Well, once again, we've come to the end of a video. And I want to encourage you guys to actually register for one of my webinars. And the link to that will be in the description. And it is The Psychology of Winning, where we talk about some of these components that really go in. There's a whole lot more than just about this idea of winning, right? It's how that all these different things we talked about play into that. So register for that, check out other videos, and please subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in another video.